Okay, Mr. Minnick here, helping my Java students learn how to write a class. I have a project already created, and I'm going to right-click and insert into that project's default package a class. And the name of a class should always be a noun, such as the animal dolphin. And there's the beginner, the beginning of the class. Eclipse spells it correctly for you, and notice how I named the class with a capital first letter. Well, any object that is constructed from a class probably needs at least one instance variable. And instance variables are always private, and they take on a data type such as int, or double, or string. Those are the three that you need to know for the AP exam. I'm going to use int. And you know, dolphins have an IQ. And I'm going to give this dolphin object an IQ instance variable. Instance variables for good style should be prefixed with the prefix my. And that's it. I'm going to keep it simple. Hey, we need a default constructor in every class that you write for good style. Default constructors, like everything else that I'm about to type, are public. And default constructors always take on the same name as the class. And default constructors never have parameters. And the job of a default constructor is to set each property equal to 0. Now, if it's a string, like my name, it would be set equal to null string. But we don't have my name in this class, so that was just an example. There, I'm done with the default constructor, adding a blank line for good style. It would be nice to have a other constructor. Not necessary, but it would be nice. So the default constructor is also public. And it's also named dolphin, but because it's overloaded, it does take a parameter, which we do not name it myIQ. That would make no sense at all because the instance variable is already myIQ. So we just name it like IQ. And I'm not sure, because of the acronym IQ, I don't know how I would capitalize that. Doesn't matter. And there is the body of the default constructor waiting for its line of code. The job of it, I meant to say other constructor. The job of the other constructor is to take the parameter and set it equal to, or set myIQ equal to the parameter. It works from right to left. If the number 120 is passed in as a parameter to this formal parameter IQ, then the number 120 gets assigned from right to left into the instance variable myIQ. So this is the construction of a nice class that has a default constructor and a other constructor with one lonely instance variable. Hey, it should have an accessor method for the one and only instance variable. Accessor methods are also always public. Accessor methods are always prefixed with the word get, and they don't take any parameters, and their job is to return the value stored in the instance variable. Notice how Eclipse is messing up because I put question marks in there, so I'll just spoil the surprise. Int is what I should have put there as the return type. Because my IQ is an int, therefore getIQ should return an int. And its job then is to use the return keyword and return my IQ. There's your accessor method. A modifier method is also public. Modifiers are always void, and they're always named set something. Set IQ, and modifiers always need an incoming parameter. In this case, IQ would be a good name for that parameter because we're doing essentially the same thing that we did up here in the other constructor. I'll copy paste because I'm lazy. If the class had multiple properties, such as that my name that we were talking about before, then in the other constructor you would also have, as I discussed before possibly, my name equals name, where there was a second parameter. The modifier that kind of looks like the other constructor would not have anything to do with my name, because a modifier method is always specific to one and only one instance variable. So now they look different. That looks very different from this. Well, anyway, this class that I'm using as an example does not have a name instance variable. So that was just a little aside. Okay, that's about it. If you really wanted to have a bare bones class called Dolphin, but later on in the school year here, you learn about a toString method. So here's what that looks like. They're also always public. A toString method should always return a string. That's the law in Java world. And the toString method has to be named, not should be. Has to be named toString with a lowercase t and a capital S. It always has no parameters, and it has a body, of course. And do not system out print like about 10% of the students that take this class. It's a common mistake, easy to make, but just don't do it ever again. It's always a return because you're returning a string. Well, the job of a toString method for diagnostic purposes during debugging a program is to return the property that, well, the one and only instance variable property that this class has. So if you're really lame and quick about it, I guess you would just do this and consider yourself finished. But you know, that's not the best thing to do. I don't know why it's squiggly underlined. Oh, duh. Hey, look, my IQ is an int, and I'm trying to return an int. And when I hold my mouse over that squiggly underline, Eclipse is telling me, hey buddy, data type mismatch, cannot convert int to string because the toString method must always return a string. So the common mistake would be just to put an int there to make it happy. But now it flags you, telling you, hey dummy, toString methods must always return strings. So that's not the fix that you can use. You have to turn this into a string. You can't do this. This is a common mistake. People try to cast an int into a string. You can't. You can cast an int into a double or a double into an int, but not to a string, not from a primitive data type to an object. So this is a little bit of wisdom from Obi-Wan Kenobi that I'm passing down to you, because he told me at one point. You can always take an int and concatenate it with an empty string, and that solves your problem. It's a little cheesy, it looks lame, but it works. And that's all the AP people expect you to know how to do. There is a better way to do it. I don't want to get into it. Well, anyway, that's just a cheesy solution anyway, because somebody who runs the program doesn't necessarily know that that's an IQ that just pops up from out of nowhere. So in the lecture notes, you probably did see as an example that you should put a nice little output prompt, something like IQ equals. And now it does also concatenate and glue together as a string, and that's a little bit better and less misleading than just using an empty string. We'll see that when we run the program here that I make in about 2 minutes. Okay, there's one more method that every class should have besides a toString method, and that is the good old comparable interface required method called CompareTo. Public int CompareTo. It has to be spelled this way. See the notes. And you need an object passed in as a parameter, and you can call it whatever you want. X. I typically use the word other. A CompareTo method compares two objects. It compares this object with this parameter other. And if you are going to put a CompareTo method in your class, that probably means that you took your class and you implemented the comparable interface that's built into Java. And if you do this, if you type this out at the top of your class, you're required to have this. Look what happens if I don't put that in there. It squiggly underlines my class and tells me, hey, the class Dolphin must have the method CompareTo in it. So I did that, or I started to do that in this video. There it is. And you should have this memorized or just understand it from knowledge. If this dot my IQ greater than other dot my IQ, no, I'm smarter than you, I'm gifted, you're not. So return a 1. Else if, ooh, this is not the way I like it. My IQ is less than the other guy's my IQ. Ooh. Okay, at least I can bench press more than you. Nah. I might not be as IQ gifted as you, but I have a bench press or something that's better. So far so good, but don't forget they could be equal to each other. So either with an else or just an outside return, always return 0 because that's the rule with CompareTo. If there's equality between the two objects, it must be a 0 that you return. It's always a positive number. We just use 1 for simplicity if this object is greater than the other object. But this isn't enough. It's squiggly underlining my IQ. Duh, my IQ is not a field. They're saying my IQ is not an instance variable in this class, but it is. Oh, because other is right now considered to be an object. We have to cast other into the dolphin that he really is. So you cast the reference other in both of these places, but it still doesn't fix the squiggly underlines. Actually, it's worse as far as the length of the squiggly underline goes. Oh, because you need another set of parentheses because of the order of operations in Java. Casting is lower in priority than the dot operator. So you need to override that with these extra set of annoying parentheses. The AP people will look for that if you want that 5 on the AP exam. The word this is optional. If we refer to my IQ, we know we're talking about yourself. So I typically don't put my IQ in there, but some people do like to type it in there to be explicit. And you'll see it both ways, perhaps on an AP exam question. Like I said before, you could put an else in here, but this is more of a catch-all if it's not in the else. It's just nicer. I like it this way. Okay, this is now a very good class that you might have to write out as one of the 4 design questions on the AP exam. I'll give you one more look at it. You can pause this video. I'm going to move on, though, and add another feature to it. Okay, here's another pause point. Okay, let's add one more property to this class. Let's add that string called my name. So if you did that, your default constructor should also properly initialize that string. And the other constructor should also pass in another parameter, probably named something logical like name without my prefix. It would need an accessor and a modifier for the myName property to have good style. Oops, that should have been a string, I'm sorry. I guess I could copy and paste this accessor and modifier. I'll leave that to do for you as an exercise. There's no law that says you do have to have a modifier and an accessor for every property, but it's nice. The toString method should be added to. I'm going to concatenate the phrase name equals and my name to that. That would be nice. And the CompareTo. Now let's say that you wanted to also, if 2 dolphins had IQs that were the same, and we want to break the tie based on their name. So if your name is Jane and you have the same IQ as John, Jane wins. Because J-A, the A is less than the O in John. So if it comes down to this return 0, maybe instead of return 0 there, now this is the kind of thing they might ask you to do in the AP exam. I'll just add an else to make it very clear. Maybe you'll have a nested if statement. If my name is less than dolphin's other my name. But this is going to be a problem here, I believe. I always use curly braces for good style. It's having a problem with this right now. Squiggly underlining for some reason. I'm going to put the else if in. If my name is greater than the other guy's my name, then we return a positive 1. And only if their IQs are the same and their names are exactly the same would we indeed return a 0. So only if your code falls through to this point would we be returning an equality, 0. Okay, take a look at the squiggly underlines that I have here in this new expanded CompareTo method. If we have to break the tie in IQs, we then use my name as a tiebreaker, holding my mouse over this. Oh, can't use the less than symbol for strings. Oh, they gotcha. Bailey.
You should use dot length.
You got, no. Dot length would say that Minnick is less than Bailey. You're right. But the length of a name is like arbitrary. How about alphabetical order? How do you test the alphabetical order of two strings? It's not with a less than symbol. Yes, you know how to do it. Travis?
CompareTo.
You got it, you got it, Travis. CompareTo. From the string class, the CompareTo. Now I don't have the parentheses right probably here. I need another right parenthesis. Now I
Put it in the other.
now I can compare my name to the other my name. Okay, I went off air and had some students help me fix my nested if statement that now that it's formatted correctly, take a look at it. This CompareTo is not this CompareTo. This is the CompareTo that comes from the string class because the built-in string class also implements the comparable interface in Java. There is a CompareTo method in the string class so that when you compare two strings together, alphabetically speaking, either a -1, a 1, or some negative or positive is returned accordingly. I should put a blank line there for good style, and perhaps there for good style, and now you can take a picture of this. This is good code. Any questions? See minnick.com/education/yo/java and have a good day.